everyone, so I am going to be starting a new vlog. So this is going to be part 2 of my Sookie Stackhouse versus the TV show True Blood. So I started doing the audiobook last night, and I'm about halfway through this book. So this one here is Club Dead. So this one has it to where at the beginning, Bill and her are still dating in a relationship. He seems distracted. He has to go off to help the Queen of Louisiana or something like that. Help out the Queen of Louisiana with something. And then all of a sudden, Pam and Eric and their one partner there, Chow, I think it is, end up meeting with her and telling her that that Eric went back to his, or not Eric, Bill went back to his former lover, Lorena, which in the series, Lorena was his sire, which I think it's pretty much true to the book too. So she's upset, because she's if he's with, his former lover again, then they're not together. And so Eric's telling her they are probably, something's probably happened to him. They're probably holding him. We need more information. So she figures, okay, she'll help them, and then they can discover, what's going on with Bill. So she ends up getting help, first help from Bubba, who really is, you come to find out, he's Elvis, So Bubba, when Elvis had died, in this book, when Elvis had died, one of the morticians, or one of the guys who worked at the morgue, had seen that it was Elvis and brought him back to, turn him into a vampire. Unfortunately, he waited too late to turn him, because I guess if you wait too long to turn somebody into a vampire, their mind is not all there, So it's basically what happened with Bubba. And I'm that's kind of I don't know, I kind of think of it as almost like Frankenstein's monster. Everybody calls Frankenstein's monster Frankenstein, but it's clearly the monster because it was Dr. Frankenstein. So I think of it as almost like that. You're bringing something back to life, quote unquote. You're bringing something back from the dead that maybe should have been better if it was dead, And so if you go and say Elvis to Bubba, he has a meltdown, freaks out. So obviously his brain is a little bit fractured. And so I'm why bring him back? I don't know. For me, it's if I was a vampire, I wouldn't want to bring people back, from the dead kind of thing, as and turn them into vampires, because it's why would I want to turn somebody into something that I am, something that I can't? The only way I can go and show my true death, to have the true death, is to go out into the sun. And so you're feeding off of other life. So to me, I'm I don't know. I wouldn't want to bring people back. I wouldn't want to turn people. I'd be no, you don't want this life. Especially if you have to deal with years and years of being alive and watching all these people around you die off, no, wouldn't be for me. Wouldn't be for me. Immortality would not be my thing. You have to have no connections at all, have no feeling, otherwise you watch everyone die around you. So this one here, so Bubba has where, they just call him Bubba, but everyone pretty much, he has to kind of stay hidden a bit, because anybody who's alive sees him, they're hey, I saw Elvis, so he first helps her, and then this other person comes in, Allseed, I think it's Allseed, which is a werewolf shifter, and of course, we saw Allseed, literally saw Allseed in the show True Blood. I mean, he was pretty naked for most of those scenes. A lot of the scenes, every time he shifted, it was oh, he naked. Oh, he naked. Oh my God. Yeah, that's, was it Sophie Vergara's former husband? I can't remember his name. Joe, was that Manganiello or something like that? Yeah. When he showed up in True Blood, I was like, woo. I was like, forget the vampire. Why would you want a guy who's all pale and shit and survives on, you know, blood and can't go out into the sun when you can have that? You can have a werewolf. Oh my God. I would definitely go for the werewolf shifters. Fuck the vampires. I don't give a shit. The werewolves. Definitely. So I'm like, girl, get with Allseed. You know, like, that's what I want her to do. It's like, yeah, I like Eric, but it's like, Allseed. Oh, yes, definitely. So he comes to, like, you know, basically help her find Bill. And I was like, girl, just, who gives a shit? Let Bill die. He don't care about you. Let Bill die. I don't care. Let Bill die. I don't give a shit. Bill sucks. Bill sucks, honestly. I'd be like, nah, fuck it. Let him die. Let him die. I don't care. So Elsie goes to help her. And so they go to Jackson and pretend to be boyfriend and girlfriend. And she's definitely getting some feelings from Allseed. And I'm like, girl, you know, I'm like, you're so, like, into, like, Bill, which I'm like, why? You know, I'm like, you got Eric, who's like this statue of a man, you know, this Viking, and I'm like blonde, and I'm like, why wouldn't you want to go for him? Right there. And then all of a sudden you got Allseed coming in, that he's all like masculine and just, oh, you know, why would you want to go for him? No, go for Bill. Okay, girl, you got bad taste. So, you know, she's starting to feel things for Allseed, and I'm like, yeah, why not just go for him? I'm like, why are you worrying about fucking Bill? Fuck his ass. Who cares? You know, screw him. Let him die. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, where she's, her and Allseed kissed, and I was like, you're supposedly with Bill, but you kiss. You know, even though I will say, to defend her, she thinks that Bill is with another woman. So I'll give her that. So that's kind of like where I'm at right now, is I'm about midway through. All of these chapters are pretty long. So, I mean, once you listen to the, you get through how many chapters in the audiobook, it goes through pretty quick. You know, like, I only have, like, I think 2 hours left in this audiobook. If I keep going today, I may end up finishing this book today. That's the one thing I like about an audiobook, because you can get through it, like, pretty quick. And I only have my audiobook on, like, 1.2 times speed, so it's not even, like, super fast, you know? So that's where I'm at right now. It's pretty interesting. I'll say, like, it is a better book. No, when Bill is not in it. I'm just like, I will take those books. I will take the books when Bill is not in the book. You know, when it's just like Eric, or if it's, you know, Allseed, I'm like, I like this. I like, girl, go for one of them. Go for Allseed. Yep. Definitely. So I figure what I'll do is, like, when I get through this book, which should probably happen today if I keep going, as long as I'm not getting distracted, you know. So I'll probably finish off this one here, and then once I finish this off, I'm going to delve into the 3rd season of True Blood, and then kind of give my review on that whole season and how different it is from, like, this book here, because they already started to kind of go off track a little bit from the seasons. Like, this 3rd book here has it to where she's, at the beginning, her and Bill are, you know, like, still dating and stuff like that, where at the end of, like, season 2 for True Blood, Bill had asked her to marry him, and then he disappeared, and I'm like, well, that's completely different from the books. And I'm like, okay. So 3rd season, obviously Bill's still missing, but this one here, it's like Bill went missing in the 3rd book, but he was there at the beginning, and he didn't ask her to marry him, you know, even though technically vampire marriages to humans is illegal, which, can you blame it for being illegal? Because vampires, their whole source of food is a human's blood. So yeah, that would be illegal. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So So I'm almost done, halfway through, and so far it's pretty good. I'll just say that I do like this one here. I think it is pretty good. I don't know what I would rate it. I'd say if it keeps going the way it is, I'll probably give it like a 4. But I'll just, yeah, again, reiterate, I like it better when Bill's not around. I do not like Bill. I do not like Bill. The more I, you know, the more she's around Bill, the more I'm like, girl, he is not a good influence for you. He's a bad influence. He has like, doesn't really show his emotions, and I just don't really get that from him. It's just, he's like like I said before, it's almost like he's like a dead fish, you know? It's like a dead fish. He's like, you know, I'm trying to think of, what was the other thing I had said about him? I'd have to look at my other vlog, but you know, he just, ugh. Milk toast, that's what it was. Milk toast. He's like a wet thing of toast, and it's like, ew, you know, like, I don't know. I'm like, even like the actor, no offense to the actor, he's not an ugly guy, but his portrayal of Bill in the show, I really don't like Bill. I just really don't. And this fucking dumbass, you know, Sookie, you know, goes and she keeps going for him, and I'm like, girl, I know he went and popped a cherry, but it's like, why keep dating this one? Stupid. So yeah, I could just say for Sookie, she dumb, because she keeps dating Bill, and I'm like, I don't know what you see in him, girl. I don't feel any emotions from him, but you could see from Eric that he's attracted to her. You can clearly see it. And then from Allseed, you could definitely see he's attracted to her, you know, just the way he acts, you know. I don't know. I think it was me. I'd be going for Allseed. At least he can go out into the sunlight, and at least he can eat human food. I'm just saying. I would go for Allseed. Hell to the yes. I don't care if he turns into a friggin' werewolf when the full moon hits. As long as he ain't attacking me, you know, then we're all good. So, so yeah, this one here is like, I'll get done with this, and then I will state my thoughts, and then I will delve into season 3 of True Blood and see how different it is from there, and go from there. But yeah, I'm gonna try not to be too long with any of these updates and all that stuff, because it'll probably be a really long video, because I am doing 3 books with this. So after I'm done with Club Dead, I will go to Dead to the World, and then Dead as a Doornail. So I will delve into 3 books for this vlog, so I can get through this series. Same thing with like the next one I do, when I do a part 3, which probably will be in I'd say probably October. Spooky month works with that. So I'll probably do a part 3 in October, because I don't want to do like every month. I forget, every other month until I do it. And then of course I'll probably delve into like 3 books there, and then I'll do another 3 books, and then the last one are 2 books. So I'll probably just do that. It'll probably be, after this, it'll be 1, 2, 3 more videos. 3 more videos for the series, and then that'll be it. But I'll say, like, you know, there are things I like about the books that I don't like about the series. But then there are things I liked in the series that I don't like with the books, you know, that weren't involved with the books. So it's still kind of like, you know, I like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you know? So yeah, anyways, I will update you all later when I finish the book, and we'll go from there. So, okay, update. It's late. I'm in my bathroom. I don't want to, you know, film in my closet because someone's apartment's right next door. So I finished off this one here. Now this one, I would say, this reminds me of, I don't know if I explained that in the first book, but when I read the first book, there was a scene in the book where I wasn't a big fan of it, where it was like, after Bill and her, you know, had gotten intimate, there was a scene where he was like in the ground, and they had, you know, had sex. to me, it didn't feel like consented sex, you know? It felt more like sexual assault. That was in the first book, and that's why I think I'm not a big fan of Bill, because he doesn't always treat Sookie like right, like especially when it comes to like he has bloodlust, and it's like, I know like his bloodlust triggers other urges, but it's like force, I don't condone. I don't like it. So this is why I like Allseed and Eric more. The next book is basically her and Eric. I loved that 4th season of True Blood with her and Eric. When they had gotten together, I was like, yes, because I can't stand Bill. I don't like him. I don't like Bill. And so Sookie and Allseed end up at this club called, you know, this one here, Club Dead. And she ends up seeing and like basically hearing this person who's going to attack a vampire, gonna stake a vampire. He's human. So she manages to stop it. She gets staked in like the belly area in her abdomen. And so Eric, he's kind of like, right now he's kind of playing coy, like he's trying not to be discovered. So he is in like a disguise. And so Eric ends up picking her up at the bar because he ends up being in there too. And he goes and takes her back to Russell Edgington's place. Russell Edgington is basically the king of like, not the king of Louisiana. He's like the king of something. I can't remember what it was. But he basically runs this area of like down in the South. It's like his district. And so Russell is, you know, gay. And so he has a lover, you know, basically. And the way like vampires are, it's like, I guess it's not really condoned for like 2 vampires to be in relationships with each other. So they'll go and have like, you know, basically more human lovers and things like that, or other types of lovers, things like that. So I guess it's more frowned upon if you have a vampire lover, you know, and you're a vampire. So she ends up getting help and healing, and Eric heals her. And, you know, they're getting a little bit, you know, intimate. She has no problem kissing him. I'll just say that. She has no problem kissing him. And, you know, and then she had kissed Allseed, you know, in this book too. So I'm like, girl, you're getting around, you know, she's definitely getting around. And then also I liked the fact that Bill is hardly in this book because he's a dick. So Eric ends up healing her. She tries to play like she's weaker than she is. So that night she ends up getting Bill, killing his lover, Lorena, the bitch. She ends up killing her, staking her, and I'm like, good, you got her. Fuck that bitch. So I don't know, Bill to me didn't act all like grovelly to me. The fact that he was with Lorena. That's one against him. The second thing was, after she safes his ass and puts him in a trunk, that night she goes and she's taking him out of the trunk when Allseed's like ex-girlfriend, I think her name was Deborah or something. I think it was Deborah. The bitch. That's a bitch too. She ends up pushing like Sookie into the trunk with Bill. And Bill is, of course, starved. So what does he do? He attacks her. He attacks Sookie, almost drains her, and then forces his way inside her. and she's crying and screaming. Oh, this fucking dick. I want to put my hands around him and stake his ass. Because I just really am like, I don't like Bill. I don't like Bill. I didn't fully like his treatment of her. I liked the book, the first book, but I had completely forgot about that one scene. And this here, like this book here, just kind of brings it up for me. And I'm like, you motherfucker. Yeah, I really don't like Bill. And the more the series progresses, the more I'm like, girl, you are not right for him. But I love the ending because Allseed, you know, he comes back to like Bon Temp's area because he's from like the Jacksonville or like Shreveport area. He's like in a different area. And so he goes to her, and I think it's like, did he drop her car off or something? I think it was something like that. And so, you know, he kind of like kissed her goodbye. And I was like, no, I like him. I like him for Sookie because he treated her good. He was not a dickhead. He treated her very good. He was protective of her. And, you know, he felt bad that she was hurt. You know, she had gotten hurt because her and Eric had like, there was some kind of confrontation with them, like someone in her home, and she had gotten hurt again. And so Eric had helped her. But then at the end, she basically tells Bill and Eric, I rescind your invitation to my home, and forces their ass out of her home. And I was like, good for you, girl. You're kind of dumb, but at least you did that right about yourself. You need time away from these vampires because they are nothing but trouble. So she goes and resigns, whatever it is, her invitation. I was like, yes, thank you, girl. Thank you. So now that I've read this one, I can refresh myself with the third season because I honestly don't remember the third season. I do remember the fourth season though, because I remember her and Eric Northman being together, you know, so I remember that one, but I don't really remember season 3. So I'm going to delve into season 3, see how close it is to the book, and I'll make notes on every episode. So I'm going to go basically, I'm going to go and, watch every episode, you know, until I get to the fourth season. So I'll, what's the word again? it's like at the tip of my tongue. I'll binge watch the episodes. So that's basically what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna binge watch the episodes and get through season 3 and, you know, do that. Also, her brother was barely in this book. And then also, the other one, the redheaded character, Arlene. I really like her on the show. I do not like her in the books. And also Tara had a more role in here. She had helped out Sookie when they were in like Club Dead. And she was actually with some other dude who was a vampire. So yeah, like almost a complete different character from, you know, the book to the show. Because the show, Tara was completely different. You know, like they had race swapped her, and also her character arc is very much different than how it is like in the books. I actually like the Tara in the books too, but, you know, I could see why maybe they decided to switch up the character and add up more of a prominent role for Sookie. Because otherwise Sookie is very much doing stuff on her own a lot. You know, very much alone. You know, she lost her grandmother, she lost her parents, she doesn't have a really great relationship with her brother in this series, you know. So I could see why maybe they wanted to add a little bit more family element to the show, you know. I can understand that. So yeah, I'm gonna go and binge watch third season, and then I'll get back to you and see how I like that one and go from there. But yeah, I definitely want to see Allseed with his shirt off. Oh yeah, I definitely want to see that, because I think Allseed might have been introduced differently in the third season, if I remember correctly. I'm gonna have to go and watch it just to see if is it like the same, or did they introduce him like differently and all that. we'll see. But yeah, I'll go and update later after I've finished off and binge watched the whole third season. So I don't know, it may take me a couple of days. I don't know, it depends on how much time I have on my hands. I know there's not like a whole ton of episodes, but I'll see what I can get through, how long it'll take me to get through. So I definitely want to delve into book 4 though. I really am like raring to go with book 4, so I need to get through the third season. So let me get through that and then I'll update again. Okay, so I finished off season 3 and you could tell like the different stuff that's different. Like they have a lot more of like, when it comes to the book series, Sookie's pretty much the only POV, like it's her telling the story. And where with the series, it's like you have like so many different other POVs. You know, that's what makes the show like, you know, really like just different. So the things that I thought were very similar from the third series compared to the third book. So Bill gets kidnapped by werewolves caused by Russell Edgington, but it doesn't happen like at the beginning. You know, it doesn't happen like he's already gone in the third season. You know, he already disappeared. Where in the book, he was there for a little while and then he had told Sookie he was leaving. So I mean, that's different. So Alcide shows up to protect Sookie. You know, basically Eric had called him. So Bill has sex with his sire and former lover Lorena, where in the book they didn't show it or her. Like it was implied, you know? It was told and Bill never denied it. He never denied that he didn't have sex with her. So I was like, okay. So Bill calls Sookie and breaks things off with her, where that didn't happen in book 3. So Alcide and Sookie infiltrate a wolf pack gang. So, you know, of course that was kind of the same. The politics on the show run deeper than what was shown in the books. I mean, there's a whole infrastructure of like on the series where you have like these political sides, you know, all of these little factions, whatever it's called. Like these areas that they run, you know, like this part runs Louisiana, the other part runs like Jackson and different things like that, you know, like there's a New Orleans, Queen of New Orleans, and there's a king of like whatever, you know, and so there's all of that, you know, and there's a little bit of that in the books, but it's definitely more politically based. Like obviously if we're thinking about our politics, you know, like you've got like the people who are on the right wing side, and then you got people who are part of the left wing side. So it kind of like, they brought in kind of a little bit of like maybe American politics and things like that to it. And you can see like where they're trying to obviously make the right side or maybe the conservative side look like really religious wingnuts. And then you've got the other side, you know, so I'm kind of like, I don't like the whole political side. I really don't, you know, especially because there's a lot of stereotyping when it comes to, you know, different political parties and stuff like that. So you see more of a connection with Bill and Sookie on the show. Like they kind of make it more romantic than what you read from the books. I said also I felt more of a connection with Alcide and Sookie in the books, where I didn't see that with them on the show. Like they obviously developed a friendship with each other, and they kind of like said to themselves like, man, if we were in kind of different situations, you know, we could have been together kind of thing. But it wasn't like, you didn't really see much of a romance, you know? So I think I like the books better with that aspect. You know, you could see more of the attraction in the books than what you saw on the show. So, also, Sookie seems to have powers, some powers. She can manifest when she's deeply emotional. This light comes from her hands. We didn't read that in the books. She doesn't have like this magical power. You know, her thing is she could just read minds, you know. Sophie kills Lorena, but with Bill's help. Sookie also gets help with Bill from Tara and Alseed, where in the books it was herself with Eric inside the house. You know, like, she killed Lorena on her own in the books. In the on the show, Bill had helped her kill Lorena. Like, he was holding Lorena up while Sookie staked her. And so she had basically had dragged Bill to the car in the books, to where here it was like Tara was involved, and then also Alseed was helping, you know, so that was a little bit different. So Bill almost kills Sookie by drinking her blood. That was basically what happened in the, you know, books too, where he was like drinking a lot of her blood. So where in the books he went and like forced himself on her, where here it was he didn't do that. It was just him drinking blood in this van. So Bill gets kicked out of the van and doesn't burn. So there is something in Sookie's blood that makes vampires able to withstand the sun, like temporarily, even if only temporarily. Where in book 3, nothing like that was revealed. Like that was basically what it was. It's like they're making her look more like she has more magical powers, like in the show. Where in the books it was like, I don't know if it's, I can't remember if it was revealed like she's half fairy, but in here it's like she's half fairy. You know, where it's not really revealed in the books, at least not yet, that she has like any type of like fairiness or anything like that. So that was kind of like the differences. So I will say, like, I'd say I liked the book a little bit better than that season. You know, season 3 I thought was kind of boring. You know, when I go and watch it, because I'm like, it has all this extra stuff. Like there's, you know, a whole storyline of like, oh God, Lafayette going and getting involved with his mother's nurse, you know, at his mother's like in a mental hospital because she's got schizophrenia. So there was a whole plot point of like him and getting involved with this guy and doing stuff like that. Then you got Tara getting involved with a vampire and that stuff going on for her, and her getting like terrified by him because the guy was a fucking major psycho. And then you've got like, you know, Jason getting involved with like some character, you know, and then the whole thing with Jessica where there was no Jessica in the books, you know, so there was like multiple different stories. Like you've got, you know, Sam finding his family and all this different stuff that basically happened in season 3. Now, obviously I'm thinking that they probably added in all those extra like plot points to the story to make it kind of drag out. Otherwise, it's like you might be able to finish this off like fairly quickly, you know, if it's just her perspective and no one else's. Because in book 3, Jason was barely in it and Tara was barely in it. And Bill was barely in it. Where Bill was definitely in, you know, season 3 a lot more than what he was in book 3. So I'm gonna go and start listening to the audiobook for this one here, so Dead to the World. So this one here basically is Sookie and Eric. So she ends up finding him like on the end of like on a road or something like that, and he has no like memory of himself, you know. So it basically says that she's obviously saying she's a cocktail waitress. So since vampires can be tough to read, that's just the kind of guy Sookie's been looking for. So that's why when she comes across a naked vampire on the way home from work, she doesn't just drive on by. He hasn't got a clue who he is, but Sookie has. Eric looks just as scary and sexy and dead as the day she met him, but now he has amnesia. He's sweet, vulnerable, and in need of Sookie's help, because whoever took his memory now wants his life. So that one basically what happened in the fourth season. That's what I remember from the fourth season, is that she's driving home one night and she sees like him, and so she manages to get him in her car, and she takes him home, and she's like, what happened to you, you know? And he's like not remembering who he is, and but he's like really sweet, you know, and he's like really nice to her. And so she's looking at like, wow, this is weird, like this is a weird thing, I've never seen him like nice to me before. So I'm gonna go and delve into that audiobook and see what happens with that, if I like the book more. I did like season 4 a lot, so once I get done with this book, I'll go and tell you my thoughts on it, and then I will delve into the fourth season, which I want to get to, delve into the fourth season of True Blood, and like rewatch that and see how I feel about it, like the second time watching it, how I feel about it. But yeah, I'll update you all later with, you know, maybe when I get halfway through the book, I'll probably do that. When I get halfway through the book, I'll, you know, come back and update. Okay, I want to do an update. I'm not halfway through, but I wanted to just make a quick observation. So with this one here, it's interesting. I'd say like, you know, when I compare the two and I say, oh, look, there's things on the show that I like and there's things in the book that I like, I will have to say right now, as it turns out, when it comes to the show compared to the books, I do prefer the books more, because it has a little bit more of a paranormal and mystery theme to it, where it says, you know, like the old covers, like there's one cover, it'll say like it's a mystery at the bottom, but mainly these books are like romantic. There's like some romantic elements to it, but that's not the gist of it, so I wouldn't call it a romance. It's mainly a paranormal. There's some mystery elements to it. There's also like side plots of like romantic, you know, situations and stuff like that. But I actually prefer the book more. Like, I decided to keep going with season 4 of True Blood, and so far on the rewatch, I don't like it. I like Sookie and Eric's relationship, but then when it starts to do like other POVs, I'm not liking them. I'm skipping over other people's POVs because I don't give a shit. I don't care. Like, Bill in season 4 is now king. He now runs that general area, and I was like, they put that asshole in charge? Fuck no. That guy's a dick. I hate Bill. The more I read the books and the more I'm watching the show, I do not like Bill. I don't like Bill. I don't like him. He's an asshole. This guy's a prick. So they really started to kind of go off, you know, with this one here, because at the beginning of this, they have it to where Sookie sees, like right at the beginning, Sookie sees, like Bill says he's going off to Peru to help some person. So he's gone. They're basically broken up at this point, not really dating each other. So she sees, right away, she sees Eric, like within chapter 2, I think, or the end of chapter 1, she's seeing Eric, and she was like, what's wrong with you? You know, you seem off, you know, something's different about you. And he's like not knowing who he is, and he's so sweet in here, just so sweet, like, you know, hanging on like her every word, and like Pam and Chow come over and they're like, you know, you have to protect him because if the witches find out, like the witches had cursed him, and they're like, if the witches find out, you know, that's not good for him. And so they're like, you need to, like, you know, Sookie, you need to protect him and watch over him until we can get his memories back. And so he's just like hanging on her, sitting on the floor, hanging on her leg. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, Bill would never. And so there are things I like in this book that are not present in the series. Like, I'd say what is the same so far is that, you know, of course, Eric's memory gets compromised. Bill, there's differences in Bill, because, you know, of course, Bill goes off to Peru in the books, but in the 4th season, at the end of the 3rd season, Sookie goes and goes off to like this fairy world with her fairy godmother, Claudette. And she thinks she's been gone for like just a little time, and she's actually been gone for like 13 months. So I guess fairy time works differently, like it works slower than it does on Earth. Maybe that's why a lot of these fairies tend to look like they haven't aged, because they're in the when they're in the fairy realm, they don't really age much, you know. And so people were like thought she was dead, because Sookie had gone missing for like 13 months, like on the series. So a whole year and a month has gone by. Meanwhile, Bill is like king of the area. And I was like, oh, so great for you, you prick. So that little fucker is king now. And he has 2 women that he's fucking. One is like this chick who's like goes undercover with like the Coven of Witches, goes undercover. And then the other one he starts fucking is like Portia, was it Bellefleur, which I think I skipped over a lot of the scenes with them because I was like, but I think Bill is like related to like the Bellefleurs in some way, like a cousin or something like that. Ew. So, so I'm like, ew, that's fucking gross. You went and fucked your, like, cousin. Ew. So, you're fucking nasty, dude. Do a genealogy test before you even think of getting with any of the chicks, like, within that area. It's like, come on, dude. So for me, I'm like, this is just, you know, Bill, I just can't stand. The more I read about him, the more I watch the show, the more I'm like, I just cannot stand this guy. I can't stand him. So there's a part in here where Jason goes missing, and then I ended up hearing from someone else that Jason ends up turning into like a were-panther, some kind of were, you know, creature, because something happens to him, like in the book series. Well, in this series here, this 4th season, they're having it to where he ends up getting like taken and like held in this one area where he was helping out like these hillbilly people, and because he fell in love with this girl named Crystal, and I'm like, dude, this girl's trouble. And so they're all like were-panthers, and so they're trying to keep their line going with like the Panthers, because, you know, I guess they're, you know, they don't have that many people in their family anymore. So it definitely has that like where it kind of like shows like these southern people are like all basically fucking each other. And so I'm like, man, that's a harsh, like, that's a harsh stereotype, you know, to go and say like all people in the South are kind of like these hillbillies, and they're all like, you know, fucking each other. And so I mean, that's not just a southern thing. I've heard some stuff up in the like northern parts of the United States too, where I'm like, there's some fucking creepy ass shit. Why do you think that there's some states out there that have it to where they tell you that you can't marry somebody that you're related to, you know, like blood related to? You can't marry this person. Why do you think there are those laws? Because there's fucking weirdo people who have done that, you know? Why do you think there's the laws like that exist? Whew. Yeah. some weird shit. So in the series, he ends up getting taken and repeatedly sexually assaulted by these women, because the one woman he was dating, Crystal, gave him a Viagra and to keep him, and all of these women were on him, doing that to him, like sexually assaulting him, so that way they can create more were-panthers. And they bit him to figure that he would turn and he would change, turn into a were-panther, and that's not what basically happened. Maybe he would eventually turn into a were-panther, but Jessica on the show ends up saving him and ends up using her blood to bring him back to health, because otherwise he probably would have died. Probably would have died of infection. You can get sepsis and all that stuff and die. So she brings him back, and now Jason's basically having these sexual thoughts of her, and it's because of her helping him with all that stuff, taking the blood and everything. So that's kind of different so far, because I'm not sure if this kidnapping turns him into a were-panther, but so far that didn't happen in the series. I don't know if that does eventually happen in the TV series, but I haven't seen it. I will say, I'm not really enjoying my watch time hours when it comes to this season. I only really like seeing Sookie with Eric. Otherwise, I don't care about any of the other stuff. The stuff with poor Jason end up getting taken and abused, sexually assaulted by these women. It's just disgusting. It was not funny. It was not fun. It was disgusting watching that, where he's crying out in pain, and these women are just going on top of him, doing their own thing. And you can go and say oh, men can't be sexually assaulted by women. When a guy's tied up or if a guy's drugged, absolutely it can happen. And so it's really disgusting when I see that portrayed. It just, I don't like it when I see men doing that to women, even if it's a simulated scene, it's fake, it's still, I don't like to see it. So it's the same thing here. I don't like to see it when a man gets sexually assaulted by a woman. I just don't like to see it. It's all disgusting to me. So for me, I was ugh, poor Jason, even though I think he's a hound dog, but still it's I feel sorry for him there, and so I'm I was trying to speed through those scenes and stuff, because I was so I'm I remember certain things, and I'm yeah, I think I remember this. So there's certain stuff that I'm yeah, I do remember this stuff the more I watch it, but I'm I don't care. So I've kind of skimmed through some of the episodes just to get to the stuff that I find the most important, for the series. And so far I'm I will say I'm not enjoying myself watching season 4. I thought season 3 was boring. This season 4 here, I'm the only thing I like about it is just Eric and Sookie. Everything else I don't give a crap about. And this one here, I'm enjoying the book. I am enjoying it as I'm reading it. I am enjoying it. I do feel it's a little bit more of a mystery, paranormal in here than an actual romance. They really hyped up the sex on the show, and I really don't appreciate that. Now that I rewatch it, I really don't appreciate the sex and all that stuff. I feel it takes away from the show, seeing these people constantly naked and constantly banging it out. I really would prefer if it could have gotten edited out. It's can we just edit out the sex scenes? I'm can I watch the edited version of this? Because I would prefer that, So I'm kind of at that point right now where I'm just I'm not enjoying myself watching the show, and I'm gonna be struggling. I'm really gonna be struggling when I get to the 5th season. I'm really gonna be struggling through to get to finish off the whole series. I'd say so far, I still like Eric. I do like Eric. Sookie is less annoying. I'll say she's less annoying. She was less annoying in book 3. She's less annoying in this book. think the more she's around Bill, the more I don't like her. When she's with other people, I like her better. But when she's with Bill, he's a bad influence on her. I don't like him with her. He plays games with her constantly, plays with her fucking head, and I really don't like it. I just really do not like it. And yeah, I mean, I'll finish off this book. I'll finish off season 4. You know, I've been trying to do that, like in the daytime. I kind of like skim, I get through the audiobook, you know, I'll go through like each chapter, since each chapter is kind of like big. And then at nighttime, I'll watch the show, and I'm kind of skimming through like the episodes and just kind of like watching what I think is like the most important. Like if I'm like, oh, I'm not like caring about this scene, like, you know, when it has like, oh, Tara's talking with Lafayette and the other dude, I can't remember his name. I want to say Alex, but I don't know if that's correct. But when they're talking about something, I'm just like, I don't care. So I end up skipping over that. Or when there's scenes of like Bill, where he's like in some type of like role of his like king and all that stuff, and then him having sex with the women, and I'm just like skip. And then the whole scenes of like when Jason was kidnapped by those weird ass people, I was like skip. I was like, oh, I don't want to watch that. So that's kind of like where I'm at right now, is I'm enjoying myself listening to the audiobook, but when it comes to the series, I'm really not enjoying myself right now. I'd say season 1 and season 2 are probably the best seasons, and then it just kind of like went off the hill, you know, on that, and I'm just like, I don't really like this. I don't really like this. No, I don't. So I will finish off the book. When I finish off season 4, I'll wrap it up there, and then I'll be reading book 5, getting through that, and then struggling to get through season 5. I'm going to struggle to get through season 5. I really am. Because I can't remember how many seasons they did. Did they do like 7 seasons? I have to look it up. They might have did like 7 seasons. Because there's 13 books. There's obviously going to be a point where there's no more of the series that I'm going to talk about. And then it's going to be just the books. So I'll go from there. So yeah, I will update you all later with when I'm done with this and when I'm done with the 4th season. So yeah. Okay, updates. So I ended up finishing off this book, you know, Dead to the World. I gave it a 4. I do like it. I did like it. I thought it was pretty good. So I ended up writing a review for it. So I had talked about how Bill had headed to Peru. Sookie finds Eric on the street where he lost his memories. So it's a powerful witch coven that are wares, and they drink vampire blood. Now this is different from the series. Come to town to get Eric. So they're the ones who took his memories away. Pam and Chow tell Sookie to watch over Eric until they could take care of the witch coven. Jason goes missing, so Sookie gets help from Allseed. Sookie meets Claudine. It's a 6-foot fairy who comes to help, and the vampires are attracted to Claudine. Her blood is intoxicating to vampires, where it's basically the same thing with Sookie in the series, is that because she's like half fairy or whatever it is, that her blood is basically intoxicating to the vampires, and that's why everybody's like attracted to Sookie and wants to like basically take her blood. The thing that was different in the series is that there was a Claudette, not a Claudine, you know? So there was a Claudine in the books, Claudette in the TV series. So they all converge to defeat the witches' coven. You know, that's the one that's the main character, that's the main witch. The name is Hollow. So Debbie Pelt, who we know from the TV series too, Allseed's ex, shows up at Sookie's house and tries to kill her toward the end of the book. She shoots, but Eric takes the bullet. In the series, in the 4th series, it's totally different on who takes the bullet. Sookie gets her shotgun and shoots Debbie. So Eric gets his memories back, but doesn't remember that he was in a relationship with Sookie, and she doesn't tell him. That happened in the books, where it's different in the series. They changed it for the series. Sookie figures out where Jason is, and her and Sam rescue him. He was affected by a werepanther, and now he will turn into one during full moon. So now he is a werepanther. Now he's like, I guess, half werepanther or whatever it is. And so he'll turn into a werepanther on full moons. Where in the series it was different, you know. They didn't have him turn into a werepanther. So I would say, like, I liked the books more. I liked the book more. It was less of all this other bullshit it's going on in the series that I don't really care for. So I wrote down my review of season 4. So it said Sookie goes with Claudette, not Claudine. So her fairy godmother, where in the book there was a Claudine and she was 6 foot. Sookie and Claudette goes to the fairy world. She was only gone a couple of hours in the fairy world, but when she comes home, everything has changed. She was gone for 13 months and presumed dead. Her house had gotten fixed up and sold to a corporation, which Eric owns. Jason is a police officer. Tara is living in New Orleans, fighting in a ring. Portia Belfleur is working with Bill Compton and Bontemps. I think it's Bontemps, but I say Bontemps, and he is called King. I said he's also fucking a woman, Katerina. That was her name, Katerina, who works with him. Then he starts sleeping with Portia, and then he comes to find out that Portia is like his great cousin or whatever it is, and he goes and he glamorizes her so she doesn't remember that they slept together, and then tells her, like, every time she sees him she's gonna scream. And it's like, okay, dude, but you're always gonna remember that you slept with her. So Andy Belfleur is addicted to V, vampire blood. Eric loses his memories in episode 2 by a coven of witches. Sookie takes him back to her house. Pam shows up and tells her that Sookie has to look out for him to protect him against the witches and whoever else wants to harm Eric. So that was pretty much like the same, very similar. Eric and Sookie fall for each other the more they're around each other. And that was the same thing that was in the books too. It's like, I thought it was really sweet because every time he'd see her, he'd say my lover, I was like, oh my God, it's so sweet. That's why I think a lot of people really were upset with like who Sookie ended up with at the end of the book series, because it wasn't Eric. I'll just say that, FYI, it was not Eric. And I'm like, well, I really like Eric. He's really sweet when he doesn't have his memories back. When he's like a clean slate, he's so sweet. And the way they have it right now, where it doesn't really end for them in book 4. Like, she's still like, they still like each other in book 4, even though he doesn't have his memories of like him and her together, but he still obviously is attracted to her, where I just started season 5 of True Blood, and it's like, Eric, you don't look like you really loved her. You don't really look like you loved Sookie, because he goes from like, he still remembers like Sookie, of being with her. But then he's like, meets up with this Nora chick who was, I guess, she was turned into a vampire from Godric, and he was turned into a vampire from Godric. So they're kind of like vampire siblings in a way, but then they're having sex with each other. And I'm just like, I know they're not like really related, but it's like, dude, you go from like having sex with Sookie and telling her you love her, and then now you're fucking this Nora chick. And I'm like, come on. So it's they fight the witches, and the vampires turn on each other due to the spell in the series. Eric tries to kill Bill, and Sookie hits Eric with her light. Eric gets his memories back, and he still remembers being with Sookie, where in book 4 he doesn't. Debbie tries to kill Sookie, and Tara pushes Sookie out of the way. Tara gets shot in the head, and Sookie kills Debbie. So what happens with poor Tara? Tara gets turned into a vampire. And I'm like, okay, what the fuck? Yeah, Tara gets turned into a vampire. Where I don't believe in the books that Tara got turned. I don't know. Someone would have to tell me, but or I'll have to catch up to it, you know, eventually get up to it. But yeah, I prefer the books. I actually prefer the books on this one, you know. Like book 3 I liked better than season 3 of True Blood. And book 4 of the Sookie Stackhouse series I like better than season 4. I didn't care about all this other extra shit that was in it. And then also I felt sorry for oh God, Lafayette. I felt sorry for Lafayette because he lost his boyfriend in there. And then also he keeps getting like possessed by these ghosts because he's a medium where, you know, if anybody's read the series so far, you know, with the Sookie Stackhouse series, that's not what happens to him at all. It's completely different. Completely different. Same thing with Tara. It's like, you know, she got race swapped, and, you know, like, poor Tara goes through so much crap in the TV series. I feel so bad for Tara. You know, she's gotten so much to happen to her throughout these 4 seasons, and I'm like, man, do you guys, like, I want to say to the showrunners, do you guys not like black people? Because it almost seems like the black people on the show are the ones that get the most shit happening to them. And I'm like, I feel bad for them because Lafayette goes through so much crap on the show, and Tara gets through so much crap. And then, you know, you have Sookie, who, you know, she deals with death too, but it's like, she doesn't go through the amount of stuff that Tara and Lafayette went through with all of these seasons so far, with, you know, on the show. And I'm just like, why do you gotta torture the black people on this show? That's what it looks like to me. I'm now into book 5, which I'm going to be starting the audiobook for this one here. This one here has it to where it now tells that Jason's a werepanther. So, let's see. Yeah, it says Sookie wants a quiet life, but things just seem to happen to her and her friends. Right now, her brother Jason is about to turn into a werepanther for the first time. She can deal with that, but her normal sisterly concern turns to cold fear when a sniper gets his deadly sights on the local shifter population. So I don't believe that this happens in the TV series, where now, like, you got this this sniper who wants to kill off the shifters, you know. And so she's afraid, not just because Jason is at risk, but because his new were-brethren seem to think Jason himself could be the shooter. Sookie has until the next full moon to find out who's really behind the attacks, unless the killer decides to hunt her down first. So that's basically what happened at the end of book 4, is that you find out that one of the people in the werepanther community was holding Jason and was biting him like every night, and it actually turned him into a werepanther. And where on the show he was getting sexually assaulted by many of the different werepanther women to get pregnant. And I'm just like, man, how do you go from, like, was kidnapped by just one guy and, you know, had turned into a werepanther, to he was taken by these hillbilly weirdo family that are werepanthers, and they were sexually molesting him, you know. So I'm like, how did the writers go from this to this, you know? I'm like, why did you come up with that? That's weird. So I started delving into season 5. I ended up watching, like, the first episode of season 5, and they're already, like, forgetting about Sookie, you know. They are running from, like, the authority or whatever it is, like the vampire authority, where, you know, it's almost like a vampire government. So they're, like, running away from them. And then, you know, Nora, who is, like, almost, it's like Eric's sister in a way, like a vampire sister. she helps them and then they get caught again. I'd say I like the one thing I liked about the TV series is Russell Edgington, because Russell Edgington is like a total psycho in the TV series, and I actually like his character. I liked the actor who played the role. I thought he did a really good job of playing like this total weirdo. So in season 3, they had buried Russell Edgington under concrete. Well, obviously someone had dug him up, or he got loose. I think someone dug him up. Someone dug him up, and now he's on the loose now. So obviously they're going to be dealing with Russell Edgington in season 5. So obviously it's going to be completely different. It's obviously going to be completely different from this book here. So I'm going to be like dealing with 2 different like storylines. Like they're dealing with all the authority stuff in season 5 of the True Blood series, and now we got here where it's going to be probably more of an investigation thing of her trying to find out who the shooter is, of who's trying to kill these, werepanthers and shifters, because Sam, he's a shifter. He's not a werepanther, but he's a shifter. They might be going after Sam in this book. But that's completely different, so obviously it's going to start to like go farther and farther away from the books. So I'm going to start that today, see how many chapters I can get into book 5, and go from there. And then at night, tonight I'll watch like a few more episodes of like the 5th season, see how far I can kind of get into that. I may end up skipping over some of the other plot points of the show, just to kind of like get through. And I'm like, is there anything that's the same here? I've been doing that with like certain storylines and certain plot points. I'd be like, skip. And then it kind of helps me get through the episodes quicker, because I'm really not enjoying these episodes. Like the 1st and 2nd season I liked, but then it started getting the 3rd season, and I'm like, well, this is different, and that's different from the book. And I like I said, I prefer the books now. I actually prefer the book series more now than I prefer the TV series. I like the tone of the books better than what they have with the tone of the series. The tone of the books is very much like paranormal mystery with like a sprinkling of a romance. There really isn't much of a romance with these characters, except with when it came to Eric and Sookie. They actually had like I felt they had more of a connection than Bill, even though she kept thinking about Bill, and I'm like, girl, why you keep thinking about Bill? He's a fucking idiot. He's definitely more mild. Like he definitely has like, I'd say in the books, he has less feeling. Like the way that Sookie describes him, because of it's her POV, because we don't get his POV, because it's her POV, we get to where he's like very calm. He's mostly very calm, like more of a calmer type vampire, like in the books at least. Because he ends up coming back at the end of like book 4. He ended up coming back from Peru, and then was gonna help them, basically help them with what was going on with all the stuff that was happening. But yeah, I really prefer book 4 over the season 4 series. It just starts getting all weird and all this other extra stupid crap that I didn't care about. And I felt so bad for Tara and Lafayette and all the stuff that they keep going through. And I'm like, man, leave these people alone. And now Tara, because she saved freaking Sookie's ass, in the series, now she's a vampire. And I'm like, man, poor Tara. She got brutalized and treated like shit from vampires, and now she's turned into one. And now she has to deal with all that, And I know what happened to her at the end of like the season 7. I know about what happened with her, and I'm like, man, they did that character fucking dirty in the series. They did Tara's character dirty. Same thing with like Lafayette. They did poor Lafayette dirty. I mean, I'm glad that they extended his scenes, and he had more scenes in the series than he actually had in the book series. But still, it's like, why did you have to do his character dirty like that? You know, why did you have to do that? I feel so bad for those characters, you know? And then they added in the whole Jessica character, which was never part of the books. And all of the stuff that she deals with, you know, with being a vampire and everything, you know. And Hoyt was barely in the book so far. I mean, he had a little bit, he had a little bit in book 4 where she was talking with Hoyt because, you know, Hoyt and Jason are best friends. And so Hoyt had basically said, like, he hadn't really seen him in a while. And that was basically all Hoyt was in. And I don't really care for the character of Hoyt in the series because in the TV series, he just comes off as like, oh, he's so sweet and everything. But he just has this like obsessive, pathetic puppy dog personality, you know? And as soon as like Jessica's not into Hoyt or tries to tell him like, hey, I'm not good for you, he treats her like shit. And I'm like, dude, that is not a way to impress the ladies. I'm sorry, you know. And then like, you know, when him and her break up and it's like, yeah, you broke up with her, you know, you broke up, you're both, you know, not seeing each other. He still like has this like dick attitude. And it's like, you guys were with each other for like a year and you couldn't make it work. So I mean, you're too different. You want to have, you know, be married and have babies, and she's a vampire. She's never going to give that to you. And then he kind of throws it in her face, like in the series, like on the 4th season, he throws it in her face and like saying like, you know, oh, well, you know, you can't have babies anyway and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, she was 17 when she got fucking turned. She's going to be forever 17. Forever 17 because she was in the wrong place at the wrong fucking time and got turned by Bill. I feel sorry for Jessica. I really do. I felt bad for her character because she wasn't in the book series. They fucking created her out of thin air for the TV series. And all she's had since she's fucking been in this series is being turned by Bill, you know, staying basically a virgin for her whole vampire years because she was a virgin when she, you know, when she died. So she's going to forever stay a virgin. So every time she has sex, you know, she might be dealing with a little bit of pain every time she has sex because your hymen grows back after each time you have sex, you know, it grows back. And I'm like, I feel sorry for Jessica too. Those are the ones I feel sorry for out of all of the series, is like Jessica and Lafayette and Tara. Those are the ones I feel the most bad for when it comes to this TV series. Is those ones, you know? It's just like, man, it's crazy. It's just crazy how like they've really started to kind of like delve way far apart, you know, they'll way far apart, you know, on when it comes to this, you know, when it comes to the series and the book series from the TV series. They just really got into like all this other shit, and I'm just like, man, I hate when they do that. I'm like, just stick to the fucking source material. It would be better if they just did that. I hate when, you know, they start petering off into something else, and it's like, nah. Anyways, I'm gonna get through, when I'm halfway through book 5, I will update again. But yeah, this is gonna be a long vlog. I'll update again when it comes to book 5, and then I think I'll do my review of like season 5 for True Blood. I'll talk about that in my last clip and do it that way. Makes it easier. But yeah, that's it for this update, so I'll update you later. Okay, update. So I finished this book here. I would say like this one here was very subdued compared to like some of the other books, because this one here didn't have a lot of like, Bill was barely in it and Eric was barely in it. She mainly was hanging around with like, her brother was a little bit more in here because he, you know, obviously is a were-panther now, but he's not, he's a little bit different because he wasn't born a were-panther. He became one by being bit. So he kind of like is half man, half were-panther. So I don't know what that's supposed to look like. But, yeah, there was that. And all of a sudden, they're getting, like, a sniper or somebody who's shooting these shapeshifters. One ended up dead. This young girl ended up dead. Other ones ended up getting injured. Like the last book before that had this character of Calvin Norris. And so Calvin basically is like, he runs like the shifter area, which in the show, in the show it was like really different. In the show it basically made them look like all like meth head hillbilly white trash. That's basically what it made them look like in the show. So yeah. But in this one here, it's like they basically are like, they say like, oh well, the community's a little bit weird, they're a little bit strange, and I'm like, well yeah, because they're werepanthers and shit, you know, their body, you know, they're shapeshifters, so that's kind of got to make you a little bit, you know, outside the normal. But I mean, honestly, it didn't look like it was a bad, you know, community. It didn't look like it was terrible. So the show really like white trashed them up, you know, and made them like look even worse. And then the guy who was the leader in the show, he was just a piece of shit, you know, where this one here, he actually seemed like he was a pretty good dude. But it was so funny because I'm like, there was a part in here where I was just like, damn, Sookie's got all these dudes like, you know, lusting after her. So I had said in my review, I said Sookie now has to deal with her brother shifting shifting into a werepanther / shapeshifter after he was repeatedly bitten by another werepanther. Someone is shooting wereshifters, and then Sam gets shot in the leg. So that's toward the beginning. Him and Sookie are outside, you know, like done for the day for like at Merlotte's, and all of a sudden he gets shot in the leg, and so Sookie, you know, goes and helps him, and he needs help like at Merlotte's. So Sookie goes to Fantasia and asks Eric if Sam can borrow a vampire to be a bartender at Merlotte's, because, you know, if they're going after shifters, he doesn't want to hire like another shifter or anything like that. He doesn't want anything where it could, you know, harm anybody new, you know, to the restaurant and bar. So Eric agrees, but he wants a favor from Sam as payment. So Sookie brings back Charles Twining, or Twining, or where was, I think it was Twining, who is an English ex-pirate, and he seems like a nice dude. Seemed like a pretty nice guy. And he kind of like, you know, would flirt with Sookie a little bit. And it's like, man, all these dudes like lusting after Sookie. It's just hilarious to me. So Allseed shows up in Bontemps, and Allseed asks Sookie to join him at a funeral of a friend, and he asks her to listen to someone's thoughts. He basically wants to use this as a way of like, because it's like the wolf shifter stuff, like they're wolves, they're packs, and like getting like whoever is the next alpha or something, and I'm just like, I don't care about any of that stuff, you know? So it was like him basically kind of like using her, what she calls her curse, to try to like get onto the thoughts of the other person. Oh, dang. I did not get enough sleep. I'll just say that. Did not get enough sleep. So someone starts Sookie's house on fire, and they end up getting their neck broke. You know, Charles had went out, and so he had broke this person's neck. And I was like, man, all this stuff, you know, Sookie's house, people fuck up her house. So she had to go, and luckily she had money, you know, from Eric, because Eric had given her money to help him. And so luckily she had that, even though she had, like, people who were like, oh no, you know, you could have asked me, I'll help you. You know, obviously Sookie doesn't want to feel like a burden. She doesn't want to feel like, you know, that she owes somebody. So I'm sure, you know, she wants to be independent and be like, no, I got my own money, I could pay it myself, you know. People have a tendency of throwing that in your face when they're like, well, I helped you, and it's like, and I didn't ask you to. So yeah, I don't blame her for, like, wanting to be independent and be like, no, I'm gonna pay my own bills, thank you. So it's funny because Sookie was dealing with Alcide, Sam, Bill, Calvin, and Eric all lusting after her. Such a difficult existence. And that's basically what it was in here. It's like all these dudes wanting her. You know, like you could see Alcide wanted her because he wasn't with his ex anymore, you know, Debbie. Sam, of course, still is in love with her. Bill wants her back even though he cheated, and they finally at least admitted in here that what Bill did was sexually assault Sookie, because it said it in here. And I was like, thank you, because that's what that motherfucker did in the last book, is he sexually assaulted her, and I didn't like it. So Bill can go and suck a fucking steak for all I care. A wooden steak, not an actual meat steak. Yeah, he can go and sit on that for all I care, because no. So yeah, you know, he obviously still wants her, and she stupidly wants him. And I'm like, girl, Bill is like your worst decision you ever fucking made in your life. Bill is the worst decision you ever made in your life. You know, why you went and gave him your virginity, I will never know. You know, come on, girl. And it was funny, like Calvin, you know, he's like a shifter, you know, werepanther. He basically was like, you know, telling her in the last book, like, hey, you know, I need myself a lady if you want to, like, come to my home, kind of thing, you know. And I'm like, dude, it's a little too, you know, push a little bit too much. And of course Eric is still questioning about the last book. You know, he's questioning him, like, you know, you didn't tell me what happened when we were living together for a short time, when I was living with you, and I didn't have my memory, you know, what happened? She's like not telling him, you know. And so he's still kind of like trying to get like some of his memories back, but he knows something happened, you know. He's like, did we have sex? You know. And she's like, I'm not telling you. And so it's funny because he's like he has, obviously it's like something like where it's on the tip of your tongue. It's like scratching at your brain to get out, you know, kind of thing. And he obviously wants to have those memories, but he doesn't. He doesn't have those memories of like what truly happened with like him and Sookie. So that was interesting. So, Sookie gets shot in her shoulder. So she then asks Eric for another favor. When he came to her, she asked him to help Tara. So Tara was in an abusive relationship with a vampire. So the vampire, it's funny because she was dating this other vampire called Franklin. Franklin was the piece of shit that was sexually assaulting her and treating her like shit in the 4th season of True Blood. But they had it to where she was dating this vampire Franklin. Franklin decided to push her off onto Mickey, and Mickey was the piece of shit. So the vampire Mickey tried to kill Sookie, and he gets summoned away by his mistress. That was basically Eric's doing, because that's what Sookie had basically told Eric, is like, is there any way you can get Mickey away from Tara, because he's not treating her good. And so, you know, vampires basically have this thing of like, well, we're not supposed to go and treat humans awful and all that stuff. that's not their way now. They're supposed to be, you know, respectful toward, you know, in a way towards humans. You know, obviously they still need blood from them, even though they can use true blood, but it's not the same. I'm assuming true blood is probably like, true blood to them is probably like me when it comes to powdered milk. I mean, it will, you know, obviously you can use it for cereal, but you really don't, you know, like you really don't want to use powdered milk because it's not good. Or powdered eggs, because that shit's nasty. You know, I don't care how poor I am, I'm never going to powdered eggs or powdered milk. My mother went and tried powdered milk, half powdered milk one time. It was fucking disgusting. Do not give me that fucking shit. I don't care how much I have to do. I don't care if I have to go out to someone's farm and milk the fucking cow myself. I would rather do that than ever try to get powdered milk again. That shit is fucking disgusting. You know? So that's what I'm assuming what True Blood probably is to vampires. It's probably like powdered milk. So she had basically told like Eric, you know, like, can you help Tara? You know, because Tara's in a bad situation. She knew there was something wrong with Tara, but she didn't know what it was. And so Mickey was just a scumbag piece of shit vampire. So he basically, Eric's like, hey, love, kind of thing, telling the maker, you know, the Mickey's mistress that, yeah, he's not a good dude. Can you keep him away from this human? You know, and so she's like, okay, well, you know, if you summon your, you know, basically your child, the one that you created, they have to come to you. So he ended up getting summoned, and so he had to leave, but he tried to kill Sookie. He definitely tried to kill Sookie, and he was, you know, he had dragged Tara to her house and was not, you know, had obviously beat the crap out of Tara. I hate, you know, when someone's a bully, they use their strength. They know they have strength and they use it to intimidate and hurt other people. And it's like, you don't use your fucking strength to hurt others. Just because you're stronger doesn't mean, you know, you're superior. So the shooter ends up getting revealed and killed by Andy. And I was not suspecting the shooter. I was not, you know, suspecting the person who was the one at all. I was like, oh, wow, that sucks. So Sookie meets this a shifter named Quinn and finds out that he's a tiger shifter, and so they're clearly attracted to each other. And that's what I'm suspecting for the next book. It's like, it shows, like, it said something about Quinn, and I'm like, okay, I'm assuming, like, maybe she starts dating this shifter, because I'm like, he does sound a bit interesting. I'll just say that. I don't think there was a Quinn in the show. I don't remember there being a Quinn in the show. I don't think that actually happened. But he's a tiger shifter, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's different. So I liked this one here. I definitely felt like it was more subdued than the other ones. Maybe because she was dealing with more shifters and wolves and all that stuff. So maybe it felt a little bit, you know. I could tell, though, that already her and Alcide, because I already kind of like, I spoiled myself for the rest of the books, because I guess her and Alcide kind of like have a very strained relationship, like at a certain point. I think it probably hit right now because his father ends up getting killed, but I'm like, that's not her fault. So I think it really kind of like, I think it really ended up souring Alcide's relationship with Sookie, like where he obviously wanted to be with her. But that's, I don't know, to me, I'm like, that's like a dumb excuse to like not talk to her. It's not her fault that your father was killed, you know, especially because it's like, it was this wolf pack shifter thing of like a ritual type of thing. So, I mean, that's like a normal thing, I guess, for them. So I guess he was hoping that Sookie would help them in a way. And I'm like, you mean like help them cheat? That's basically what I'm thinking, because I'm like, the other one was cheating. They were doing like this challenging thing, and the one who was going to become alpha or something like that, or whoever ran the pack or whatever it is, he went and was cheating. Alcide's father, Jackson, wasn't doing that. But I think, obviously the person was too old. Maybe his father was too old, not strong enough. But yeah, his father died. And it just, I don't know. It's like, well, Alcide gave her like this nasty look of like, almost like he's blaming her. And I'm like, it's not Sookie's fault. So yeah, I don't know if that's going to be the strain or if there's going to be something else that is what causes the strain with Alcide. All I know is that, man, she had so much sex on that show with so many different dudes. And she clearly, she's obviously going to be having sex with, I'm assuming she might be having sex with Quinn, maybe. I'll just say, like, he sounds like a good dude. He sounds like a nice guy. I still like Eric, but she's still hung up on fucking Bill. I'm just kind of like, girl, why? Girl, why? So I started to get into season 5 of the show. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think this is like anything the same. I mean, maybe there might be a small plot in there of like the wolves in season 5. But so far, it's like mainly politics. Like Bill and Eric and Nora, who I don't know if is in the books, running away from the authority. And I know like how many members of the authority get killed. Like there was one who was running the authority for season 5. He gets killed. There's like how many people who get killed in season 5. But I don't know. I'm like, I'm going to watch it, but I don't think it's going to be the same as the book. The book was very subdued. It seems like this one here is like a lot of different stuff going on. A lot of politics. I hate politics. And I don't care what type of story you're telling. Like this is obviously politics of like, you've got the vampires who are trying to keep everything on the up and up, even though there's some shady shit going on with that. It just shows like all government, no matter what it is, tends to be corrupt. I'll just say that. Usually people in power get an inflated head. And so they basically want to abuse that power that they get. A lot of people in power have done that over the years, whether you're king, you're president, you're prime minister, whatever it is. There's always somebody who's like, who's a bullshitter, who you get in office and they're a liar. So it's kind of like with anything. So no matter whether it's humans, vampires, there's always somebody out there who has bad intentions. So for me, I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna watch it, but I don't really want to watch it right now. I'm probably gonna skim through it like I've been doing with season 4. I'll probably just skim through it and just skip over the politics stuff. But I'm pretty much going to end it right now because I don't think it's going to be the same. I don't think the book is going to be the same as how they started to do it with season 5. So I'm just going to end this vlog now because I'm like, I think it's completely different. I don't think it's the same. So, But I'm going to keep going with the books. I'm definitely going to keep going with the books, and you'll see the next vlog come out in like October. But I'm going to keep reading the books right now because I want to get through them, before I get to the point of like, I don't care. Like I'll end up hitting a wall. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to read this. So since I'm still like interested in the story, I'm going to keep going, but I won't post that vlog. My next vlog will end up being in October. So you won't see my thoughts on like, was it book 6, 7, and 8? Yeah, 6, 7, and 8. You won't see my thoughts until then. But yeah, I'd say, like, definitely I'm liking the books more. Like, the less she's around Bill, the better she is, like, honestly, because she just starts being dumb when it comes to Bill. And I'm like, girl, be smarter than this. He's a piece of shit. Look what he did to you. You know, look what he did to you. And when Eric was with her, he didn't drain her, as, you know, morally apprehensible Eric can be. He definitely is, you know, has treated Sookie better than how Bill has. You know, I can't stand Bill. And Bill in the show, I don't like him. I don't like him. He, more and more he becomes a douchebag. And it's like, this guy's a fucking asshole. I'm like, I don't care how much shit he's dealt with in his life. I don't care how much shit he's dealt with in his life. And then also, like, it's funny because the amount of dudes who lust after her. And I'm not saying, like, there's anything bad about her, you know? But it's like, guys, it's like you treat her like a sexual object. You know, you don't go and treat her anything more than that. It seems like very surface level. A lot of the men, it seems like very surface level, you know? And I'm like, it's kind of sad that they're, you know, they're kind of only thinking her like in a sexual way. Eric gets a little bit deeper. I'll just say that. Eric feels a little bit deeper to me. And I don't know, Calvin Norris, I just think wants that dude, I think he just wants a woman. Any woman, you know? So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, obviously she ends up who she ends up with, you know? Because I already know who she ends up with. I'm just curious on, like, how that's going to come, you know? How that's going to progress, you know, from there. But, yeah, I'd say definitely I like the books more. The series is just really kind of falling off for me. Like, as someone who didn't read the books and watched the series before, the 5th season was kind of like my last season that I ended up watching the show, because it was just, like I said, it starts getting off into, like, politics and all this other shit. And I'm just like, I love the small town feel. That's what I think I love about the books, is that the books they still have this small town feel to it, even though it's filled with, like, shifters and vampires and werewolves and witches and fucking fairies. I mean, it's got, like, a whole ton of stuff in it. But I still love the small town feel to it. You know, it still has that tone, to where the series started getting, like, all out into, like, other shit. And I'm like, I don't care about this stuff. I don't care. I'm like, why didn't you guys, the showrunners, why didn't you just stick to the fucking tone of the fucking book series, you know? So, yeah, that's what annoys me about this, is that. So, I did like it. I gave it a 4. You know, I did like it. None of these books are like, oh my God, this is so great, but they're good. Like, I'll listen to them. I'm like, yeah, this is a good story. I like it. But it's not something to where I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. That's why I haven't given anything like a 5-star yet. Pretty much everything's like a 4. It's good. It's a good story, you know? I'd say some things are a little bit dated, like her clothes are a little bit dated. There's certain things that are a little bit dated, you know, like when it comes to, like, technology has advanced, you know, over the years compared to, like, when these books came out. So, like, her saying, like, she doesn't have a phone, and I'm like, man, nowadays everybody has to have a phone, because you cannot go throughout life without, like, some kind of cell phone. You know, like, you don't have to have a smartphone, but you need to have at least some cell phone on you. And, like, even if it's a flip phone, like a cheapy flip phone one, because there's no, like, payphones around anymore, you know? Just basic things of, like, no payphones. They got rid of payphones. Like, I have an old payphone. Like, when I walk down the street, there's, like, an old payphone that's still there, you know, right near my daughter's school, but it don't work, you know? It doesn't work. You know, the line is, you know, dead on that thing. So, you know, just basic things of, like, you know, obviously, everyone needs, like, at least a cell phone. you know, so you can get in contact with somebody. That type of thing. So yeah, there's a few things that are kind of dated. People like, I think were talking shit about her clothes, and I'm like, you could, you know, it doesn't matter like what decade you're in. You could wear stuff from like whatever, like say like certain things were popular in the 90s. You could still wear that stuff today. I mean, I see so many young people who try to go with more of a 90s style, and I'm like, man, I look at this teenager like, I used to wear that stuff when I was a teenager. Or I see other people who wore that style when I was a teenager. So I look at some of these teenagers now and I'm like, man, that getup is from the 90s, you know, like when I was a teen, you know, preteen, teenager, and then adult. Because 1990, I was like 11, you know, 10, 11. So, and then 99, of course, I was an adult. So, my formidable years were the 90s. So, anytime I see like teenagers with like band t-shirts or, you know, the pants, the baggy pants, with all these zippers, yeah, stuff you get from like Hot Topic, that was the 90s for you, you know, right there. Mine consisted of like jeans. I loved jeans. I still love jeans, but I love jeans. I used to wear these, it was kind of like a, not really a combat boot, but it was kind of, looked like, almost kind of like a construction boot. I would wear those to school. And I loved flannel. Flannel was my jam. So flannel, now I can't really wear it. Like, you know, it doesn't really get cold enough here for me to wear flannel. Most times it's just a hoodie. But yeah, I love flannel. I love my band t-shirts. Still love that. I still like, I still have a 90s style. It's never gone away from me. But yeah, the clothing can be dated, but you know, pretty much any era you can kind of like wear whatever you want. You know, don't matter. Like I've seen people who still wear like more of that rockabilly 50s style. I like that. I like the 50s style. So I see anybody who kind of like takes that aesthetic and like they make it like their daily life. I'm like, you know what? Good for them. You know, they remain consistent, you know, with their style, you know. It's a lot of hard work to kind of upkeep, you know. But I like that. I like seeing a 50s style, even 80s. Like, you know, I'll see like the stereotypical 80s with like the big hair and shit, you know. Punk style, you know, more like the punker or 80s hair bands, you know. Every now and again I'll see somebody like that and I'm like, oh wow, they're rocking like an 80s style. Good for them, you know. So for me, I'm like, I don't really care. People are like, oh well, it's not like current. And I'm like, who gives a fuck, you know? Who cares if it's current or not? I never wear anything that's current. I wear whatever I want to fucking wear, you know. Don't matter if it's like, if my shirts were more popular in the 90s or what, but I don't care. I never wore anything that was, you know, oh, what's current. Maybe the 90s, but yeah. I mean, you could wear jeans any fucking time. So, anyways, yeah, I like this series the more I read it. The less she's around Bill, the more Sookie is less irritating. When she's in a relationship with Bill, no. Girl, you have to be smarter than that. But yeah, that's it for this vlog here. I don't want to keep going because it'll be too long. And I know it already is over an hour at this point. So yeah, that's it for this one here. Like I said, I'll do the next one in like around October, and then there'll be another one in December, and then I obviously will finish off this series sometime in 2025, probably January, February, who knows. But yeah, I'm gonna keep going right now, and I'll post that next vlog in October, which, you know, will be great because it'll be spooky month. But yeah, that's it for this one here. Let me know, like, do you Do you like the series more, the TV series more? Do you like the books more? Let me know down in the comment section. But yeah, that's it for this here. Have yourself a good day. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other, and I'll see you all in the next video. All right, bye.